Hi, everybody. Welcome. We're just waiting for people to come on in. Lots of enthusiasm for this topic tonight.
Definitely, Paula. Welcome, everyone. I know I'm enthusiastic about it.
We got a little message, chat disabled. Thanks for letting us know that. I got that message in the Q&A.
Yeah.
Thanks, Montahina. If you could let us know if the chat is working. We know you have lots of questions, and we do want to be able to meet those needs. Oh, thanks. I can see the chat and the video. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for that.
Let's give it about a minute more and then we'll get started. Thanks, everybody. I know it's late in the day, and it's great that we have so many people here. All right, Montahina, let us know when you want us to start.
Yeah, all good. Should get started.
Great. Thanks, everyone, for being here. My name's Paula Mirk. I'm the Director of Financial Coaching at New Jersey Citizen Action Education Fund. I'm thrilled to be here with Janessa, who will introduce herself in just a second. Just letting you all know that our purpose tonight is to leave you with some specific tools that you can start using right away to break the paycheck to paycheck cycle, and also to provide some free resources to keep it going, including signing up for free financial coaching and for some other tools that Janessa will talk about. We did receive quite a few questions in your registration. Thanks for that. We're going to try to integrate them throughout this presentation. We're also going to try to answer questions at the end. So we'll leave a little bit of time at the end. Feel free to use the chat to pose questions, because we have another financial coach, Shalini, who works with me, fielding questions as we go along. And now let me turn it over to Janessa.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm so happy to be here with Paula and her team today. My name is Janessa Alexander. I'm a store manager at TD Bank. So I've been in the financial world for about 20 years. And I'm so happy. I love doing events like this because I think it's important for us to help where we can with our expertise. So really, really good to be here. Thank you, Paula and team. We are so excited to have you guys join us this evening.
Terrific, thanks. Next slide, please. So we wanted to talk just a minute about free financial coaching. We have a team at New Jersey Citizen Action Education Fund that provides this one-on-one service by phone, by Zoom, or in person, as often as you need it, for as long as you need it, daytime and evenings. So if you use the QR code or the sign up link right there, you can get started right away. Shalini, another financial coach, is going to be providing that in the chat as well. And we'll be talking from time to time about what that looks like. But basically, I always say it's like going to a gym. I'm the person that shows you the equipment. I help you use it. I give you feedback, and I try to motivate you to stick toward the goals that you are trying to achieve financially. Next slide, please. The other services we want you to be aware about from New Jersey Citizen Action Education Fund. All of these services are free. All of them are for low and moderate income families and individuals across the state. You can only qualify for financial coaching and these other services if you make under a certain income threshold, generally about $100,000 a year as an annual income. And we provide free healthcare enrollment. We have a free tax preparation center. We have a free first-time homebuyer counseling department. We have fair housing and discrimination support. And we have an oil group that helps us helps defray the fuel costs for people who already own their homes. This is all toward our mission of economic and social justice for the people of New Jersey. And we're one of the oldest and largest nonprofits in the state, and an unusual nonprofit because we also have a advocacy wing to our organization down in Trenton, trying to influence the rules and laws and policies toward our mission of economic and social justice. And thanks again so much for being here. Next slide, please.
Oh my gosh, Paula, that is all such great information. I really hope you guys take advantage of those resources because it's so important. Our objective for tonight, we want to make sure that everyone has healthy money management strategies, right? We want to help you identify and define your monthly budget items, flexible and fixed. We also want to aid in creating a budget, right? We want to help you design your budget to help manage your spending and work to eliminate your debt. And then budget action planning, right? Learn how to make those smart spending decisions, because that's really what it's all about. The smart decisions are going to help you in the long term. And like Paula mentioned, it's about the consistency. So we're here to give you the tools, but it really is important that you guys stick with it and be consistent so that you can really, really see the results. Next slide, please. Breaking our cycle trap, right? Why some people may not succeed financially, it's because they get caught up in a trap, right? The poor spending decisions lead into ineffective money management skills, and that leads into this cycle of just living paycheck to paycheck. Well, we're gonna try to help you get out of that cycle tonight. Next slide, please. So it's important to develop very healthy money management strategies, starting with knowing where your money is going before the paycheck comes. Have a budget plan, right? You know what's coming in, you know what's going out ahead of time. And then look at your short-term needs and plan for long-term needs and wants. The now is important, but also the future, very important. Create an emergency fund. For those of, some people that know me, they would tell you Janessa is very, very big on the emergency fund because things happen outside of the budget. Maybe your car tire, or something with the car you need to pay for. You want to make sure that you have the funds available so it's not breaking into your typical monthly budget and you don't feel stressed. We don't want you to feel stressed. Invest in your future, retirement. A lot of people don't think about retirement, and we want to help you think about the future, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and then also 2050, whatever, depending on your age, your retirement is. We really want to help everyone get there. Next slide, please.
So good, Janessa. I just remember when I was trying to raise kids, when I had, a full-time job and kids at home and running in 15 different directions at once, the last thing I thought about was retirement, and it is so important. The sooner you figure out how compound interest and things like that help you in the long run, the better. And I love how you mentioned, short-term and long-term, because most of our process in financial coaching is based on setting goals, short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. And they're all around knowing your financial picture and understanding, how much is coming in, how much is going out at all times, and how you can manage that or steer the ship, if you will, to get to those long-term goals eventually. Next slide. So one of the things we want to leave you with tonight is the fact that money is different depending on different expenses that you have. Several of the questions that we got were about building savings. And also we had a question about, well, how do you manage things if you're being paid every 2 weeks, or maybe you're being paid every week? And those are considerations that you want to learn about and think about. And they are part of the budgeting that we're going to be talking about this evening. But the starting point for all of that is understanding that different kinds of expenses and even different kinds of income are treated differently. We do that ourselves automatically, but we also end up having to learn sometimes that there are things that are like fixed expenses, which are bills that are going to come up every month, whether you want them or not. And then there are flexible expenses that are more in the realm of choices. And then there are occasional expenses. And you need to get to know what your expenses are and which categories they fall into. And believe it or not, savings is also considered an expense because expenses are the money going out. So you have the money coming in and the money going out. The goal is to always have more money coming in than going out. And one trick, because some people did ask about tricks to make budgeting consistent and work for me. One trick is once you figure out your financial picture, use the tools that banks provide nowadays to automate, to build in the discipline that you need to make sure that your budget is consistent from month to month. Next slide, please.
Oh my gosh, Paula, yes, you really hit the nail on the head with that one. It is so important that we actually took the time because we want to elaborate a little bit more on those expenses, because it really is important to understand that the savings is just the money that you don't plan on touching. Okay, it's not something that you're going to say, hey, I'm going to go into this account 2 months from now. No, that's not considered savings, right? You want to be very firm about this. And then you're fixed, like Paula mentioned, these are the bills that are the same every month, right? You have to pay your phone bill, otherwise you won't have a phone. We know that. So these are the things that are super important. And then the flexible ones, this is the one where maybe there's more of a range. It's not like an exact amount every month. You know, you may have like, it's going out, you spend this amount every month. It's flexible. We want to make sure that you are aware of what those are. And the occasional ones, those are the ones that maybe it's not every month, but it's coming. It's really going to get there soon. For example, you know, some people pay their car insurance every 6 months as opposed to every month because it works better with their budget. That would be considered an occasional expense. So it is important to know what those are. And one of the questions that we got from the registration is, you know, what is a common mistake that you see, right, with budgeting? And I would say when it comes to budgeting, one of the common mistakes I see would be with the expenses. A lot of people are not 100% honest about what these expenses are. And it is very important to be honest with yourself and be truthful, because that's what's going to make effective planning, right? So we want to know what these expenses are. Next slide, please.
Yeah, and the other thing is there are common mistakes. Somebody asked in signing up, what are the common mistakes that people make when they're first starting out with budgeting? I would say one is kind of mixing these up and not letting yourself get really super clear about these different kinds of expenses and your lifestyle and how they match up. So for example, paying the rent, well, we all know that's coming around. That's a fixed expense because it's not going to change from month to month. Whereas car expenses, well, we hope they don't come up every month. They're coming up from time to time, and we need a method to be able to get ready for them, anticipate them, and also deal with them when they come along. And of course, flexible expenses, those are things that you could technically pedal back on. If your car breaks, and like I said, we hope it doesn't happen often, usually if you need it to get to work, you just have to get it fixed. With groceries, of course, we need to eat every month. But if we know we're going to be a little short money that last week of the month before we get paid, we can pedal back. I mean, this picture is somebody with fresh bread in their cart. You know, that's a lovely thing to have, but it's not a necessity. We could make choices about the food that we buy if we were feeling like we needed to pedal back a little on our flexible expenses. So getting very clear about those and about your savings expense and really having those internalized so that you don't even need to carry around that information. It's just set up and part of how you do your budget. That is a super important skill that we try to build. Next slide, please. Oh, I was supposed to give you an example, and you can chat with Shalini about, thanks, Montahina, about where this would fall. Would it be considered for you a fixed expense, a flexible expense, or an occasional expense? And the one that I decided on, Janessa, you tell me what you think, is one that I have found with clients goes across all three categories, and it's getting your nails done. Because for some people, that is like they go to the same place, they tip the same amount, and they are very, very consistent about it so that it's fixed. For some people, it is an occasional thing on special occasions, they get their nails done. And then for some other people, well, I do it, but if I don't have the money to do it, that's one of the things that goes. So
Right.
that's to give you a feel for how it's so important it is for you as an individual to be clear about which expense you're thinking about and which kind of expense it is. Next slide, please. So now we're at the budget planning. Do you want me to try that one, Janessa?
Sure.
Okay. Well, these are different steps that you can take for getting ready to budget. In fact, we're going to be doing a little exercise in a bit about this. One step you can take, and we always do this with our coaching clients, list where the money's coming from. Again, the goal eventually is to have more money coming in than going out. That's called cash flow. And so you want to look for all those ways that money is coming in. Secondly, track your expenses. Use those tools. Look at your debit card account. Figure out where that money's going from day to day. Look at the bills that you're paying every month. Check over the time, like over 6 months or 3 months, what did you put on your credit card that's actually an occasional expense? Do that kind of forensics. And then we'll be showing you, you're going to have to look at how much is coming in, how much is going out. Have I saved? Have I overspent? And take a step back to evaluate your situation. And then it's not that you have to stress every moment of the day about your budget. But you want to get to the point where it's your friend and you really do know it well. And you want to be checking in with it regularly. Next slide, please.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that is such great advice, Paula. And I want to say, the budget does not have to be firm because expenses may change over time or income may change over time. So you have to be willing to be flexible and update as you go as needed. So we are actually going to start this wonderful activity here. We're going to have a little bit of fun with it. So now that we know some money management strategies and we know the tools for creating a budget, let's have some fun with it. So we want each one of you to take about 5 minutes to create your own budget. Have your notebook, have a pen. We want you to start, of course, like Paula said, you're going to list the income first, and then we want you to list a couple of expenses, as many as you can within the 5 minutes. All right, so are we good to start right now, Shalini? Can we start now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go. Let's do it. Let's
Yes.
start now. 5 minutes. I feel like we should have had like a game show audio. Dun, dun, dun.
And if you do get a little confused or run into questions, throw them in the chat. It looks like Shalini's keeping up with the chat really well. Thanks.
I'm so excited to see what some of you come up with. We are going to discuss it in a little while, so let's see. Oh, you guys have really been chatting tonight. Wonderful chat going on. I promise this is going to be fun. Just be as honest as you possibly can about those expenses. I know for me, nails, it's fixed. In my budget, nails are fixed.
Is it? That's interesting. Check it out. Mine is like 0, no, nothing. My kids are always teasing me about that. I don't think I've ever gotten my nails done. They think I'm such a dinosaur. I guess I am kind of a dinosaur that way.
Listen, it's an extra expense. If you don't need it, then don't do it.
Yeah. I think it feels weird. Plus the smell in those places is so intense for me, but that's me.
Oh, that is a great question there in the chat. Thank you guys for your questions. You guys have been so great in the chat. I really appreciate your enthusiasm in this.
It's a good group.
So we're going to give it about 2 more minutes, see what everyone comes up with. All right, guys, how are we doing? Are we ready to talk about it almost?
Go for it. How are we doing the sharing, Janice? Are you reading from the chat then for the sharing?
Yeah, I guess we can do that.
Or Montehina, maybe if somebody raises their hand, we can
Right.
unmute.
Great questions, everyone. Keep them coming.
If anyone wants to share, they can raise their hand and I'll unmute them.
Oh, perfect.
All right, no one is raising their hand.
Come on, guys.
They're
Yeah,
shy.
don't be shy.
There we go. All righty. Thank you, Lisa.
Yay, Lisa.
I wasn't really sure of what the exercise was, but what I did do is I used the chart and I just wrote down what I pay in all of these areas. Was that the goal?
Absolutely.
Oh,
It's
okay.
list your expenses.
I listed everything that I do on here. Let's see. The one that I forget about a lot of times are these two. They're flexible, but they do happen a lot. Charities and gifts.
Yep.
I find when I'm invited to um, a birthday party or even, I'm a woman of a certain age, even when you're invited to weddings and sometimes funerals, you're expected to show up with something, or to remember to get cards. And that's something I really keep trying to remember to do, to leave them at home and to also save my tissue paper, okay? So that I could easily put together something that I can bring as a gift when I'm going out.
That's great.
And the only other thing that I didn't see on here, oh, here it is. I didn't have passed it. It was the internet and the cable. And I think that that has changed so much because cable's kind of almost out, and internet streaming is in. Um, and my home phone, I'm grateful I don't have that anymore. Just a
Yeah.
cell phone. Um, and I'm also, I feel like the student loan thing just came back, so it's almost strange on my budget.
Right. But it's fixed. We have to pay it, right?
It's fixed now. We are back to fixed on that. And on the gym thing, oh, I put it on and I take it off. I put it on, I take it off. Um, and I also thought about the water because it's quarterly
Right.
in the house, it's quarterly. Um, and the other thing, the miscellaneous, um, I think I don't even think of it sometimes. I'm so busy trying to think about my budget, think about what I don't or do have. So I think sometimes in the miscellaneous I get caught up too because I'm especially in the dollar store. Okay, you can just do too much in the dollar store.
I
Anyway,
love your honesty. That
Yes.
is great.
that's it. That's it for me.
Well, thank
That's
you so
great.
much for sharing.
Anybody else have their hands up? Those were great examples of expenses. And thanks for sharing that. And also, I've been looking over some of the things you shared in the chat. Somebody makes a great point. You sometimes don't have any choice over things like nails and hair and all that. Really does depend on where you work for many
Mhm.
people. And, hopefully you're getting compensated so that it works out for you. That there can be some things that really do add up over time. And there are quite a few examples with that last contribution. Can we have the next slide, please? So some of you have asked about this, if there's a template or something like that for budgets. There are a gazillion.
You might have lost Paula for a little bit.
Okay.
Janessa, do you want to
Yeah, of
take this
course. I
one?
thought it was me. I'm so sorry.
No,
Yeah,
you're fine. No, I wanted to give her a minute to come back, but
okay. So guys, yeah, like Paula was saying, right? There's so many different templates for budgeting that it's really important that we research and kind of just find one that works for you. So the one that we use for the exercise, that was from tdbank.com. And it's one that I use every day with my clients. And it works a lot for most clients, but it doesn't work for everyone. So it's really important that you look at what fits your needs and your lifestyle, because not every budget is the same and not everyone is going to work for you. Next slide, please. So we did the budget, right? We spent our time, we did the budget. Now what? The purpose of the budget and putting all these numbers down on paper or spreadsheets is to take a look at this big question. Are the expenses exceeding the income? Because if it is, then obviously that's, a problem, and it's something that we need to change, right? It's always our goal to have more income than we have expenses every single month. And I think we mentioned that earlier on in the presentation. So how do we do that, right? What are some tips? Eliminating unnecessary expenses. I will preach this until the day that I die. That would be like your subscriptions. So, Lisa mentioned her gym membership. Lisa, I hope you're going to the gym because I always say, if you are paying for that membership and you're not going, it's something you need to eliminate. Cut it out of your budget. Also, adjust spending as needed. Paula kind of touched on it earlier. The supermarket, do you necessarily need 2 loaves of bread? Maybe you just need 1. Or, instead of spending $25 a day on lunch, maybe we go down to maybe $20 or even $15. Do as low as possible without it being a burden on you. And then, another example would be making breakfast every morning as opposed to buying breakfast every morning. These are just small, little tweaks that you can do that can help you lower the expenses so that you're not breaking the bank. And then seek out new sources of income. Everyone knows I am a workaholic, right? If you know me, you know I'm a workaholic. However, I will take on any other job if I could, as long as it fits within my lifestyle and it's not a burden. So no one is telling you to go out there and take on 2, 3 jobs. We don't want that. That's a lot of stress. What we're saying is just research. Maybe there's a customer service job that you can do remotely at home for maybe 10 hours a week. That's extra income. It may not be a lot, but every little bit helps. You know what I mean? Next slide, please. So we talked a lot about the budgets, and then I want to add some additional resources. So TD Bank, like I said, we have a wonderful worksheet that we use during this presentation. Please feel free to, visit that link. Our financial learning center is really good as well. There are other tools there, not just budgeting, but also, managing credit, first-time home buyers, small business, starting a business, everything like that. We also have great books here mentioned. Beyond Paycheck-to-Paycheck by Michael Rubin. I love that book. It's a really, really good resource. So it's very important that you use your resources. And I want to just also add, one of the questions that we received was about saving, right? Savings, like we mentioned, is an expense. It's really important. You need to start small. You want to start maybe $25. That's always my biggest tip, right? Start small, maybe $25. And if you're seeing that with saving $25 a week, let's say, it's not hurting you and you still have some leftover funds, maybe you want to increase it to $30 and then $35 as you go along. So you don't want to start too high. A lot of people start right away. They want to save $500 a month. Let's start lower so that you can actually be successful with your savings. Okay, next slide, please.
That's such a good point, Janessa. I actually was thinking about that because of the question of what are common mistakes. And I do have quite a few clients. Their common mistake is they're trying to save more money than they can afford, really. And, it's better to save a small amount and feel really empowered that you did what you thought you were trying to do, or that you achieved that goal before you set your expectations too high.
Right.
So we're going to open it up for questions in just a minute. Just a reminder that you can sign up through the chat right away, or you can sign up with that link that you see in front of you. You can also email or text me anytime. It's a very simple process to sign up for our free financial coaching. All you do is you text or you sign up in the form, and then we are going to be texting you and saying, hey, we got your information. When are you available next week? Let's set up a time to have a conversation. These conversations are wide ranging. So our first call, we're going to talk about your goals. What's your situation and what do you want to achieve through financial coaching? And just like Janessa said, we're probably going to start with small steps. I encourage you to use all those resources that she mentioned and showed you in the slides. We'll be making this recording and slideshow available to you afterwards. So you'll have all that information to take advantage of. And somebody mentioned student loans, so I just wanted to say that we have, because our advocacy team is trying to help on reforming student loans at the state and national level, we are very involved in helping folks get into the very best student loan program they can. You may be surprised. You may be able to save money. In fact, there are programs right now that are halting interest on student loans at the federal level. Please get in touch with us if you have student loans and you need more information about how you set that up, especially now that, as someone mentioned, it's back to a fixed expense again. And let's just take a moment. Did we get everything, Janessa? Is there anything else we need to think about, or should we open it up to questions?
I want to open it up to questions. I want to hear, from everyone. So let's open it up to questions.
Montahina just had a very good reminder. Thank you, Montahina. We are having a webinar about student loans on Thursday night at 6 p.m. If you can throw the link or the registration in the chat, I appreciate it, Montahina. This is with our federal advocates as well as our New Jersey state advocates. And I'll be there just to get in the way. So if anybody has student loan questions, that's a great opportunity coming up. Thanks. Yeah, let's open it up for questions, and maybe raise your hand if you need to, or also, if you're done and you need to go for whatever reason, that's okay too. No hard feelings.
Do we have anyone yet? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So one of the questions that we got from the registration, what is an adequate way to start saving and also pay off credit card debt? So I want to say in this economy right now, a lot of the credit card interest rates are very, very, very high. They're all maybe mostly over 20%. So a great thing that you should look into is maybe consolidating that into a personal loan where it's a fixed rate and not a variable rate, so that you can make fixed payments and it becomes a fixed expense that you can just pay down, and you would see like you have significant reduction in your expenses because you're not paying that higher variable credit card interest rate. So that is something to look for.
Definitely. And of course, working on building your credit score, the higher your score, the cheaper it is to borrow, correct? So
Absolutely.
that's always something to be thinking about and working on if you can.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Lisa, so much.
Any other questions? Let's check that list. I'm looking for that list of questions that we had. The ones in green, remember, Janessa?
Yes. I'm looking at it now. A lot of the questions, one of them is debt relief a recommended program?
Yeah.
Yeah. The answer is yes.
Well, I'm saying yes, that was a question. I think you have to be wary about the many different repair, quote unquote, organizations out there. And, our focus right now on this seminar was on budgets, but there's a whole bunch of stuff we could do on
Right.
credit. Maybe we should sometime.
Right.
Does TD Bank connect people to credit repair?
Not necessarily. We have tools online for credit repair. We have a
Great.
secured credit card for credit repair. But when it comes
Great.
to the debt relief program, what I would say is do your research. Be very careful, because you want to make sure you're using the right tools for you. Not everything is a one size fits all, and you want to make sure you talk to maybe an advisor like Paula. You can go into your local bank and speak to an advisor there as well. But it works when it's done correctly.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I don't know if you agree, but we always say there's a lot you can do yourself if you learn the tools instead of paying someone else to do it. On the other hand, you have to know yourself. If you're better off just making one payment and somebody else takes care of all that stuff that you will never be organized enough to do it, knowing yourself's a really big part of budgeting.
I agree. And the consistency is also a very important part of the budget. I look at my budgets probably more than I should, more than the average human probably, but it's because maybe I'm a little bit too analytical. I'm not saying you have to be like me, but I do think it's something you need to pay attention
You
to.
should give yourself a break, Jeanette. You work in a bank. Of course, you're going to be looking at your budget, right?
I really do.
No, I do too. And I always, it's so similar to going to a gym. I mean, you'll start to feel it when you're making progress, and you won't really need to think about it as much the more you get to know yourself and your budget.
Right. And lead with your long-term goals. If your goal is to buy a house in maybe 2 years, you will feel so great after you put this budget in place and the plan is working, and within a year or so you see everything come into fruition, you qualify for that house, everything is working out. It's the best feeling ever.
Janessa, I'm so glad we have time. I wanted to ask you about tools for the disabled to make sure that their accounts and their budgets and their credit cards are safe, because it's actually one of my clients. I'm so happy that she's signed up for this webinar. She wanted to know about that. Do you know of anything like that that we could connect her to?
You said to make her account safe?
Yeah.
So when it comes to protecting your account or your identity, I always recommend having like a credit freeze, because you don't really need a lot to sign up for things these days, probably just someone's name, social security number, date of birth. And you'd be surprised how easy it is for people to get that information, especially if you visit hospitals. They have breaches in their data, they have data breaches all the time, unfortunately. So it is very important to sign up for credit freeze when possible so that you're notified if someone does use your information. But then every financial institution has alerts. So I would say make sure that you're signing up for the right alerts based on who you're banking with to make sure you protect your information. It is the most important thing out there, honestly, because, unfortunately, fraud is happening every single day.
You know what? It just happened to me this weekend, and I was not good. I called the bank. I was like, this is silly. I don't have any money. And they're like, yeah, no, do you know so-and-so who just tried? And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I felt kind of embarrassed, but I was so glad that they told me about it.
Right.
It's
And
really
also,
common.
yeah, locking your debit cards. That's another thing that I tell all of my clients. Lock your debit card and credit card when not using it, because that way you do get the alert without the charge going through. There's nothing to dispute. But, if there is something to dispute, your bank is there to help you, your financial institution. They will research, give you your money back. It's not really a lot of fighting. You just have to let them know within an adequate amount of time.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm checking some of these other questions. We had some questions about investment, and I should mention that there are different levels of licensure for making decisions about money. So we are certainly happy to refer you to an investment advisor, and that's sort of outside our realm of work at financial coaching. And I meant to ask you, Janessa, is that true for you as well?
Same as well. At the retail level of banking, we are not licensed. Everything that's investment related has to be referred to our wealth departments, where they have the licensed financial advisors to review your accounts and give you the best recommendations. But with that being said, I can also say, you know, because we were discussing and there's a theme going of self-educating, right? So on our website, tdbank.com, if you go to our investments tab, we have a lot of tools on there for self-investing, learning about stocks, teaching yourself how to, you know, read the market and different things like that. So it's really, really helpful if you visit our website.
Yeah. There's lots of tools. I mean, there is. We often use things like NerdWallet or
Rocket Money, Mint.
Right. Just for the education piece, like which credit card should I get? Well, somebody's done that thinking for you. So you go on there and you'll have a whole list of different things that you can think about, right?
Yep. And even if you don't bank with TD Bank, you know, I always hate to like plug in another institution, but I do if I have to, right? If it makes sense for my clients. So if whoever you're banking with, whether it's Chase, Wells Fargo, whomever, if you go to their website, they have a ton of information and resources that you can use without it being a burden of having to go to a different website. Some of it is even with your app that you're already using for your banking. For Chase, for example, they have your budget already, you know, categorized for you. Groceries, dining, shopping, traveling, everything is there for you. So it's just a matter of just looking at the resources and doing some research a little bit.
Right. Well, we promised, didn't we, that we would end early since all these folks have been so kind to come out on a weeknight. Everybody's so busy. Super, super grateful to all of you for taking the time to learn a little bit more about this. And thanks so much, Janessa. It was fun to do this with you. Yes. Thanks, Montahina and Shalini. Anything else we need to think about before we close up tonight?
No, I just want to say for those who are still on, final word of advice, please take advantage of your human resources. If you feel like you need some extra one-on-one time, if you know me or you bank with TD, reach out to your bank, your local financial advisor. Paula, she shared her link on how to get coaching with her. Please take advantage of it. We really want to see and help everyone moving forward.
That's so true. Shalini, any other questions that you see that we haven't touched on? We're all good?
I think we had one question that said, how do you save for retirement if you spend everything in paying all the monthly expenses?
Right.
Oh, that is a good question. Well, that's why we first have to get the expenses reduced so that you would have the extra that you can put towards retirement. So the first step, of course, is reducing the spending.
Yeah. And you need to know your picture. So let's work together, get a budget in place, teach you how to use it, and set some goals. You can do it. You just gotta know the tools, right?
Everyone can do it.
Yeah, great. Thanks everybody so much. And if you have more questions, you know where to find us, right?
Thank you guys. This has been great.
Thank you, Janessa. See you soon.
Yes.